Hey everybody, I'm Arglefumf, and this is the schedule for my book review channel for March 2023. Basically, I'm going to be reading Encyclopedia Brown, Babysitter's Club, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I'll just be shuffling through those three book series. However, I will do Sweet Valley Twins on March 5th. That's because I read the Sweet Valley Twins graphic novel recently. I figured I might as well read the books, right? I only read the first two books in the series, though. I haven't read books 3 or 4 or the others yet. So on the 5th, you see my reviews for books 1 and 2. On the 8th, we have the next two Encyclopedia Brown books, number 3 and number 4. Similarly, on the 11th, the next two Diary of a Wimpy Kid books, number 3 and number 4. I haven't finished my review for number 4 yet, but I should be able to finish it by the 11th. I'm sure I can do it. On the 14th, two Babysitter's Club books. The big number 100, Kristy's Worst Idea. I did not like this book. It was kind of bad, and it has a lot of negative reviews, in part because a lot of people who read this book were people who stopped reading the series around book 40 or 50, and so they picked up this book and were really angry to find that Dawn was kicked out of the series to be replaced by Abby. It's also not a pleasant book. The premise is that the girls don't like babysitting and they fight with each other a lot. They officially vote to disband the Babysitter's Club. And that's not a very fun premise for a book. There is a happy ending where they decide they really like each other and they want to keep the club going, but still, most of the book is pretty unpleasant. Also, Babysitter's Club's reference manual, this is the complete guide to the Babysitter's Club, it quickly became outdated because there are 20 to 30 books published after this complete guide. So the complete guide has nothing about Claudia being moved to 7th grade, and not so much about Abby, too. It misses most of the Abby books. That's weird. So, Encyclopedia Brown number 5 and number 6. Excuse me a moment. I just noticed a problem with this. My score is an 8 out of 10. I needed an extra space there in my score. Good. Glad I noticed that. On the 20th, Diary of a Wimpy Kid Online. So before it was a book series, it was published online. It's a really large book, 1,200 pages. So I did a review for that. I also did a separate video pointing out the various differences between the book series and the online version. It's about 13 to 14 minutes worth of differences. They're mostly small, minor things, but this online book is so large, it's over 1,000 pages, so even just a bunch of minor things add up to like 13 minutes of video for me. On the 23rd, the next two Babysitter's Club books, Kristy's autobiography, and then a pretty terrible mystery. This one takes place in Salem, where the girls stop a museum robbery. I think it's one of those books where the person whose fashion they dislike ends up being the culprit. Bad fashion means you are a villain in the Babysitter's Club mystery series. Also, I seem to remember Stacy sees a number for like 3 seconds and then she instantly memorizes it, and so 5 days later she's just able to recite this list of numbers that she saw very briefly. And that's incredibly unrealistic. Stacy's never had the ability to memorize numbers. On the 26th, I will post a review for the next Cirque du Freak book, which I haven't read yet, and Oliver Twist, which I was commissioned to read. It's a very long book, and it took up most of my time just reading Oliver Twist. That took up most of my reading time this month. On the 29th, I will post the next Sammy Keys book review. I haven't read the book yet, as well as the next Hannah Swensen book review, which is Chocolate Cream Pie Murder. I thought this book was okay. It was decent. It's just not really a murder mystery. It's more of a suspense book where Hannah's ex-husband, Ross, starts acting crazy. The murder happens on page 280, so the book makes you wait a really long time before the murder. And there's not enough time to give a thorough murder investigation, so the book kind of, like, rushes through that. So, good as a book, but not so good as a murder mystery. That's my verdict. In February, I read Garfield Goes Hollywood. That was a fun book. Garfield's Guide to Everything was not a fun book. It felt like it was written by an old person complaining that they don't like young people these days, because young people these days, they have earrings everywhere, and they like Paris Hilton and Britney Spears. Give me real celebrities like John Wayne and Rich Little. And those are actually things that are mentioned in this book. It really did feel like a lot of it was just an old person complaining. Gremlins, I did a review for Gremlins. I thought that was pretty interesting because they make a lot of changes from the movie. Like Gizmo, we get to hear Gizmo talk. Gizmo doesn't talk in the movie, but we get to hear his thoughts. He's actually an alien from another planet. And the Gremlins also talk, and we get to hear their thoughts and their conversations. Really interesting stuff that's not in the movie. Garfield Sunday Finest is a Garfield collection done for the 30th anniversary of Garfield. It was okay. It's not the best, but it was still pretty good. Much better than Garfield 30 Years of Laughs and Lasagna, which was the other 30th anniversary book, and that was pretty terrible. At one point, they reused the same joke 3 times in a span of 5 pages. Yeah, that was pretty bad. And I also read the second Indiana Jones book, Indiana Jones and the Dance of Giants. I did not read that many books this month. What can I say? Most of my time was spent reading Oliver Twist, because that's such a long book. It took up pretty much all of my reading time that didn't involve Garfield comic strips. As for my writing, I spent most of last month working on the second draft of Cat President 3. I should be able to finish that within a week, so that's good. I also worked on an outline for Harvey Brothers, The Tower Theft. So if you've read my 2 stay-at-home detective books, you know my main character, Ned, is a big fan of the Harvey Brothers. And that's supposed to be the Hardy Boys. I just call them the Harvey Brothers to avoid getting sued. But now the Hardy Boys are public domain. So I wrote like a 4-page outline for the first book in the Harvey Brothers series. I don't know if I'll turn that into an actual book or not. It might just be a fun thing that lives on my computer. I did check Amazon sales records for the last year. It said that most of my book sales were for 1-minute mysteries. That made up like 40 to 50% of my book sales. So if I do write another book again, maybe it will be 1-minute mysteries too. That would probably be the smart move, right? And that's everything I have to say. Thank you for watching Arlo Flumph Reads. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can support me on Patreon. You get early access to many of my book reviews, like all of the Babysitter's Club books or the Goosebumps books. I recently posted Berenstain Bears, the Big Chapter book series. So you can check that out on Patreon for just $5 a month.